All right. We must produce what we eat. I'm sure by now you must be familiar with that most quoted phrase by President Muhammadu Buhari on the need for food sufficiency in Nigeria.
All right, Claire, there's no doubt about that. And when you consider the fact that Nigeria spends hundreds of billions of naira each year on food importation, the president's statement becomes indeed a matter of national emergency.
As correctly, Kingsley. Now, one of the food commodities that Nigeria is on deficit.
Now, under the arrangement, about 40 billion naira was set aside for rice farmers to access at single-digit interest rates in order to improve their production. Now, this is also meant to strengthen the rice value chain and lay the foundation of a total elimination of rice imports.
Now, with such investment and reports of bumper harvest set to have been recorded recently, Nigerians expect that that the price of locally produced rice will be moderate and affordable compared to the ones imported, which no longer enjoys foreign exchange funding.
But the reality is different, as the local rice at the moment is certainly more expensive than the imported rice. Now, why a bag of foreign rice is said to go for around about 13,000 naira, local rice, it's sold at an average of 16,000 naira. That's a difference of 3,000 naira.
Indeed, Kingsley, I need to just make a correction. As 2 days ago,
yes.
I had, to, price a bag of rice. And I was actually told it's 18,500. So it's much more.
So the price has gone up.
Yes, it's much more than, yes.
If you went to an upscale market, you get that kind of value, I believe.
Not really, Kingsley. I went to one of the local markets here in the capital city. But of course, the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Aldo Ogbe, at a town hall meeting recently, that's just a few days ago in Abuja, raised serious concerns over the development and said it is casting a negative shadow at government's efforts to diversify the economy and put to an end, once and for all, the importation of rice.
So, what is responsible for the high cost of locally produced rice versus the imported one? Now, is Nigeria's rice production dwindling? Are there
newsroom, of course, Ogwa Vivian Onyedibia is right here with us, beaming with all smiles. I'm wondering what kind of rice do you now patronize local rice? Because I do.
Well, funny enough, I happen to like the Ofada rice very much. Yeah, I do.
Is it Ofada coconut, or Ofada jollof, or Ofada...
White Ofada with the Ofada sauce. Locally prepared stew with dawa and all that.
All right, including, of course, fish, vegetable stew or something. Okay, very well. Let's roll.
Good morning, Nigeria, and welcome to the news. The federal government has condemned in strong terms the recent developments in Côte d'Ivoire, in which a small fraction of the country's armed forces mutinied against the government. Nigeria expresses strong and unflinching support for the government of President Alassane Ouattara and welcomes ongoing efforts at resolving the crisis. Senior Special Assistant on Media Publicity to the President in the Office of the Vice President, Laolu Akonde, in a statement said the federal government urges the parties in the crisis to exercise maximum restraint, remain calm and continue with dialogue and negotiations with the government of President Ouattara. Nigeria also urges the mutineers to return to their barracks and to refrain from any action capable of undermining the peace, security and democracy of the country. The federal government further urges the people of Côte d'Ivoire to remain steadfast in their support for the government and to refrain from giving support to the mutineers in the overall interest of peace, tranquility, good order and prosperity of the country. In the light of this, acting President Yemi Osinbajo had engaged the Ivorian president and the president of Liberia, Mrs. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who is also the current ECOWAS chairperson, seeking ways towards a peaceful resolution. And moving on, sequel to the resurgence of Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Acting President Yemi Osinbajo has directed the Federal Ministry of Health to step up surveillance activities at the nation's border to prevent the dreaded disease from slipping into the country. These and other issues formed deliberations at the Federal Executive Council meeting in Abuja.
What we need to do is to step up preparedness at all our borders, land, sea, and air, to ensure that we could quickly identify a probable case, offer additional screening and quarantine so that we do not get
against anti-corruption have been able to establish this kind of formidable national forfeiture regime.
The House of Representatives on Wednesday resolved to investigate the disruption of JAMB examinations at the Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, Ogbomosho. The House said this cannot be allowed to happen again as it will create unnecessary disruption at the House.
Engage the National University Commission, NUC, to find a lasting solution to the lingering disputes between the two owner states as well as other internal crises in the university.
Since the return of the resident, the whole federal constituency has remained in darkness, and as a result, commercial activities in the area are at low ebb.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed says the President Muhammadu Buhari administration in the past 2 years has put Nigeria on the path of sustainable growth and development. The minister stated this at the federal government midterm town hall meeting in Abuja.
Corruption levels in our society have become completely unacceptable. The brazenness and impunity of those involved and the lack of accountability at all levels of society are to be addressed if we were to create the foundations for future prosperity.
Various efforts put in place by the federal government to mitigate climate change have been commended. The latest is coming from the West African Science Center on Climate Change and Adapt Land Use, when the leadership of the body visited the Federal Ministry of Environment.
We want to put on record our gratitude to the government of Nigeria for its leadership in this task of addressing climate change issue, both on a regional basis and on a global scale.
We here in the Federal Ministry of Environment are already at the verge of launching the Green Bonds, which will help us raise capital that will go towards sustainable environmental management and address climate issues so that we will be able to achieve our national determined contribution.
The former Chief Justice of Nigeria and the Chairman of Council, Democracy, Stability and Media Accountability.
Only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Makes a Niger mom powerful.
I encourage my kids to learn new things, and if they get hurt, I rely on the power of my Dettol's 1 capful. To fight germs, it's like my own first aid kit.
My family needs protection from germs. I use the power of Dettol's 1 capful to disinfect surfaces and clothes to keep them clean and safe from germs.
I trust the power of Dettol's 1 capful for bathing. The power of Dettol's 1 capful protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Millions of powerful Niger moms use the power of Dettol's 1 capful to protect their families. Be a powerful Niger mom with Dettol. Be 100% sure.
So what's up, sweetheart? You really look like you're up to something.
I have a secret.
Okay.
I'll be going to Europe next week.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Like you have your visa, your passport, your plane ticket?
No, not that way. Some men are helping us. We pay them, they take us through the desert, and then we cross the sea into Europe.
The desert, the sea. Isn't that the route where many have died?
Yes, it is indeed a very dangerous journey. In 2016 alone, 4,900 people died while crossing the Mediterranean Sea to enter Europe. Many were Nigerians. For the very few who survived the journey, they are forced into prostitution or other crimes just to survive. Eventually, they will be arrested and deported to Nigeria. Don't be a victim. Don't go this way.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
All right, welcome back. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria right here on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We're moving on now to business, and as inflation rate continues to decline, Nigerians look forward to the reflection of prices of goods. Plus, Acting President orders expansion of social investment program across the country. We have details with Joy Uzo.
Hello, thanks for joining us on Business News. Following the latest statistics released by the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, recently pointing to further upsurge in food inflation, even as headline inflation rates declined marginally for the third consecutive month in April, Nigerians are expressing concerns over the upsurge in prices of commodities, especially food. It has been observed that prices of goods continue to be on the rise, despite a 0.2% decline in headline inflation in April and CBN's continuous foreign exchange intervention. Reacting to this, Director General of the Abuja Chamber of Commerce, Chijioke Ikechukwu, says if the CBN wants to really see the impact of its intervention, a strategy to sell at lower rates while making the forex available should be adopted.
If CBN really wants to drop
Rises Entrepreneurship Program. The acting president, who had received the SIP update report, expressed satisfaction at the progress made under each of the programs and gave express directives that the programs be promptly expanded so that more Nigerians can start to benefit. Nigeria is to commence production of jute bag to meet the international requirements for packaging of agricultural produce for exports. This is as the African Union recently advised states to stop using bags made from polymer for storage of produce. Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Audu Ogbe, said Nigeria will abide by the directives, as Nigeria over the years has been fighting rejection of agricultural produce at the international commodity markets.
Enough for making jute bags. The EU has warned us that they will not accept anything we put in polypropylene bags as an export item from the end of this year. Those of you from the north, you know Rama. That's it. We use it to make jute bags. And when we finish, we crush the core of the seed and use it to mop oil spillage in the Niger Delta.
Nigeria may become the regional operational hub of the 43-year-old Islamic Development Bank, ISDB, in Africa, as the Development Finance Institution is considering a proposal to expand its existing country gateway office in Abuja to serve as a key regional office. The office, which was opened by the Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, earlier in the year, will coordinate the operations of the bank in its West and Central African member countries, which constitute a majority of the 27 African countries in the institution. The Abuja Gateway Office will serve Nigeria, Gabon, Niger, Mozambique, Burkina Faso, the Republic of Cameroon, Uganda, Senegal, Djibouti, and Guinea-Bissau, among others. The move is part of a 5-year reform package unfolded by the president of the Islamic Development Bank, Dr. Banda Mohamed Aja, at the opening ceremony of the 42nd meeting of the bank in Jeddah Tuesday night. He said that decentralization by opening of more regional offices would take the bank closer to member countries to enhance communication, improve its efficiency and performance in its operations. Now to the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Equities market closed Wednesday on a positive note as the NSE All-Share Index appreciated by 1.05% to close at 27,900.44 basis points. Next is a graphic summary of trading figures on the floor of the exchange.
Also, that from politicians, Wike tells Army Chief. And just coming down the front page of that story, you can find Oshibajo will sign 2017 budget, and that's coming from the 8th. Quite a number of stories there. Senate gives presidency ultimatum to submit government agencies' budget. Stops further spending. Another Chibok girl returns, also trending on the front page. And Senator Adeleke died of drugs overdose. That's coming from the pathologist. And family rejects the results. Now, trending at the bottom there, Ebola threat. We will intensify screening at airports. That's coming from the federal government. You can find the details of that story on page 3.
All right, let's also take a look at the front page of this day newspaper. Some of the headlines, of course, are also similar, but of course, inside you have other stories. But on the front page, from top to bottom, we have Senate issues 2-week ultimatum to executive to submit agencies' budget proposals. And it has 2 riders. It bars, the Senate bars NNPC, CBN, and 34 other agencies from further capital expenditure, and frowns at resumption of DG Lottery Commission without confirmation. That Senate frowns at resumption of DG Lottery Commission without confirmation. Also there, another Chibok schoolgirl found, acting president confirms. That story is in greater detail on page 10 of this day. Now, below the name flag of this day, we have the story as well. Stop allocating soldiers to politicians. Wike replies Borete. Borete, of course, is the chief of army staff. And it has a rider. Britain warns against non-democratic change of government in Nigeria. Now, the lead story has a double-decker headline. It says, Oshibanjo, that's acting president, will assent to 2017 budget, says presidency. And the rider says federal government constitutes panel on Ebola. And lastly, the headline from the front page of this day, Kachuku, that's the Minister of State Petroleum, federal government to maintain 145 naira pump price of petrol. That story is in detail on page 12. 1 minute.
Well, a beautiful day. I think when the whistleblower policy came on board, the warning was very clear from the federal government that in as much as, and maybe these 2 guys were excited from the percentage they'll get from it, but the government warned that if you're not sure of information, don't whistleblow on it. This maybe others would have fallen prey to this, of government to submit their spending proposals to the National Assembly for approval. Well, we hope and believe that that is being attended to. And quickly, there were some kind of misgivings yesterday, and some papers are saying it over the accenting to the appropriation bill or non-accenting to it. But for me, I think it's common knowledge here that Mr. President traveled and informed the National Assembly and handed over powers to the Vice President, acting President. It happened in his first journey. The acting president swore in the Chief Justice of Nigeria. So when you put it side by side, it's a constitutional matter. So asking the question whether the acting president will sign the budget or will not sign the budget, and it doesn't call for that. Except maybe some persons are trying to be mischievous from some quarters. FG yesterday took a position concerning the mutiny in Cote d'Ivoire. Nigeria has always played the position of the big brother, and it has sustained it. It has asked the government in the Cote d'Ivoire to ensure that the request or what the protest all about should be attended to, while they have called on the citizens there to also support it. Following suit, the former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, has also lent his voice to it, asking them to maintain calm. And we believe by today that issue would be attended to. Those are the stories for now.
All right, thanks a lot. Of course, Claire, we just indicated the whistleblower policy. It's one that also requires a great deal of caution on the part of the citizens. It's indeed an offense for you to provide misleading information to the law enforcement agencies, and that's the reason why, of course, they are facing prosecution. Better be sure of your facts.
This somehow brings down the number from 2005. Yeah, as yesterday, the Minister of Finance said they had tips from whistleblowers to the about 2,500. So with this now, it's now 2,499.
Oh, well, we're not sure whether, first of all, we have to screen the information, but what is right is deliberate misinformation or misleading information. Yes. That's the point. You know,
exactly. I think that should be noted. The adjective qualifying the information should be noted. We move on now to the Daily Trust. And the Daily Trust had its lead story as Senate gives Oshibanjo 2 weeks to submit CBN NNPC budgets. Senate gives Oshibajo 2 weeks to submit CBN NNPC budgets. Now, let's quickly take a look at the other trending stories. We've talked about the
2017 budget, saying here another executive legislature field looms. The writers, of course, speak to what we already read earlier. Senate gives executive 2-week ultimatum over 38 MDA's budget and moves to investigate appointments without confirmation. And no uncertainty over who signs 2017 budget. Now, photograph there says U.S. University honors 21 outstanding amnesty beneficiaries. And then the story on the whistleblowers who have been arraigned over false information is also there, together with the confirmation by the presidency of the release of another Chibok schoolgirl. Details of that story can be found inside at page 6.
Well, in conclusion, quickly, is the reaction following the warning sent out by the Chief of Army Staff yesterday. A lot of Nigerians, lawyers, politicians have reacted, and following suit, the UK, the government of the United Kingdom, have said that the only way to change a government, a true government, is through the democratic process, through an election. And the reaction by the various groups is that if you don't want the army to get involved in politics, don't attach them to politicians. And also the fact that one of the lawyers is also saying that if the people have been identified, they should be brought to book and exposed the law. The other side of it is Oxfam. Oxfam came up with a report yesterday. Talked to one of the reports there that they gave up a report which is not going down well with the federal government, that their report is inciting. The report they churned out
Hear the call of change. Stand up, Nigeria. Change is here and it's going to stay. Change begins with you. Oh yeah, make we go. Go to so let the change begin from within. Look at you, Ogerola. Change begins with you and me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me.
Introducing the new 5 Alive Pulpy Orange.
Where is the pulp? The pulp. Where is the pulp? Where is the pulp?
Taste the goodness of real orange pulp in every gulp.
Where is the pulp?
The new 5 Alive Pulpy Orange. Now.
Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria, and right on time for our conversation to begin. And we'll start off with a backgrounder with Omotola Omojola.
Rice as a staple food is served as different delicacies across Nigeria and cuts across all ethnic groups in the country. Available in variants, rice cultivation in Nigeria dates back to the 18th century, and Nigeria is said to have a capacity of cultivating rice between 4.6 million and 4.9 million hectares of land. Despite this promise for the production of the food crop in the country, Nigeria until 2016 had lagged behind seriously in rice production. Join us in GMN as experts provide answers.
All right, thank you very much there, Omotola Omojola, for that background report. Now we have guests with us in the studios as well as at our Ibadan Network Center to provide further perspective on this subject matter. First, at this time, we would like to welcome a familiar face on Good Morning Nigeria. Is Dr. Emeka Okengo. Okengo is an economist and is also involved in agric farming. He's also involved. I'm a farmer. He's also involved in farming. So, all right, Dr. Okengo, a pleasure to have you on the program.
Pleasure, sir. Good morning, Nigerians.
All right, and then we also have with us here Dr. Mike Uwazie. Dr. Uwazie is a farmer. First question is going to Dr. Emeka Okengo. Now, what could possibly explain the disparity in the price of local rice as against the imported rice, in the sense that the locally produced rice is more expensive than the imported rice?
Well, very simple answer, cost of production. That's what it is. You know, the cost of inputs against your outputs.
What are we looking at in terms of inputs and outputs? I mean, if you are importing, for instance, yes, you also have your cost of production, then you also have your so-called CIF, your cost, insurance, and freight.
That's what I'm saying. You see, first is the cost of money. Okay? When you want to do a business, what are the costs of your inputs? Your fertilizers, your seedlings, your transportation, your storage, your processing, your packaging, and all that. I don't think we understand volume against value. I don't think we understand what you call appropriate financing or what you call patient capital. I don't think we understand what you call development capital. I think what we understand in Nigeria is commercial funding, and that is why we have a very major issue in Nigeria. The monetization system that carries a maximum of 600 of these things at a time. The logistical challenge of moving them from point A to point B will be impossible. So naturally, all these rice should have been stored in Kebbi. So at the end of every production cycle, we should have had one very big place where you have our rice stored in, either after the meal or pre the meal. So what's the story? There's a lot of interrogation we need to do about the figures we're pandering. But to answer your question straight, we are selling because the cost of production is too high, and you have to recover monies you put in.
All right, let's bring Ajia Salamatu Garba into this conversation. I'd like you to respond if you agree with what he said. And in the past, the issue was trying to get Nigerians, to patronize locally produced rice. And indeed, I'm one of the newest converts because I now eat Ebonyi rice, quite delicious, nutritious, if you ask me. But we are concerned now with whether Nigerians can afford to buy these bags of rice. I just told Kingsley just a few days ago, I went to the market, and a bag of locally produced rice is going for 18,500. I'm sure you know that.
Yeah, thank you very much for bringing me in. I agree with what he has said, and I will want to add my voice to say that, yes, locally produced rice is expensive because illiteracy is expensive. Illiteracy is expensive because in Nigeria we want to showcase illiteracy. That is what we have been paddling with since we got our independence. This is a country that has let its staff of farmers illiterate. If government is sincere about this increased production in rice, we would have started it with building the capacities of these farmers. And this is what WOFAN, the Women Farmers Advancement Network, which I am leading in various states, especially with women, in partnership with competitive.
How do you mean building capacity?
I'll come to that. In partnership with Competitive African Rice Initiative, a German-based organization that is supporting WOFAN. We are paying attention to building the capacity of the farmers. The farmers need the technical know-how. So if they are not feeding in the correct technical know-how, they cannot get the desired output. If they are expected to get 10 tons in, for instance, 2 hectares of land, and they are going by this, well,
in terms of building capacity.
The Anchor Borrower Scheme came with money, with an idea, with the value chain idea that we have put, that you feed into off-taker, the off-taker buys and so on. But certainly, when that system came on board, we got a new generation of farmers. We that have been working for the past 20 years with farmers, we got a new breed of farmers. There are 3 categories of farmers by my own analysis. The hard-to-reach, sincere farmers that are there tilling the soil per day and need this Anchor Borrower Scheme. There are those that are doing it as a backup, additional to their maybe profession or vocation to support means of living. And there are those that are doing it because they have the means to tap into any opportunity that is coming. So all of them call themselves farmers. We did not sieve to say that we are looking out for the smallholder out to reach farmers, especially women that I advocate for. So now we're talking in a blanket anchor borrower scheme. We have reached out to millions of farmers, but let us sieve it and see what categories of farmers
have been reached.
Are they the armchair farmers? Are they the political farmers? Or are they the real farmers? I am telling you, with the number of farmers I have, sincerely speaking, in as much as I work with an organization that appreciates data, we don't have 1% of the farmers that have benefited so far.
From the
I'm sorry about it. Recovery rate, I am not sure.
Plains. In Nigeria, we have up to 5-6 months of rain. India has 2.5-3 months of rain, but is still able to manage its water system and flood the plains and produce a lot of rice. Why is the problem in our local production? It's because the local content has not been developed. The infrastructure has not been laid out. The water bodies have to be impounded.
Together with other stakeholders who participated in that conversation, there is a clear-cut, agenda for irrigation schemes and so on and so forth, where the shortages are, rehabilitation or recovery of seeded dams and all of that. So that is in the works. As I said, that discussion took place a couple of weeks ago on this program. Please continue.
Yeah. So they have to fast-track that plan, because without fast-tracking it, the farmers in this country will still be producing very low. The issue of years ago, but they have to start fast-track it and start discussing, not with the states, even the local government and the communities, where they know that the potentials are there. Like Ebonyi, where I know that, and Kebi. The dry season farming, I doubt whether 2% of our farmers are getting that dry season farming, because there is no water. The water extensions are not there. The canals, the channels, and so on, even 8 dams are not there. These things have to be fast-tracked. Within the next 2-3 years, I think.
Varieties. And I'm surprised that the remarks have been made that our local farmers are still using unimproved varieties. Research has over 60 varieties in Nigeria. And during the Akinwumi Adesina's regime, we picked some of these varieties which were given to farmers. Wita 4, Faro 52, and rice production. When Dr. Adesina was out there, the program was focused upon. That was the reason why he focused on the North Central, the Northwest. And if the Northeast has been at peace, we have focused on Northeast also. And within those 2 to 3 years, we were able to attain 85% self-sufficiency in rice production. Now, Kebi, Kano, and a lot of other, those flat farmers in the north, they have water underground. They have water underground because by sinking boreholes, they can produce enough water to take care of the hectareages in those areas. It just looked dry on the surface. Hydrology.
All right. Well, that's Dr. Olumuyiwa Oshiname speaking to us from our Ibadan Network studios. We'll get back to you later on in the course of the conversation. Now to return to our guest here with us in the Abuja headquarters studios. Hajiam Salamatu, we are discussing all of this in the context of the projection by government that by 2018, which is next year, Nigeria will have attained self-sufficiency in rice production. Now, self-sufficiency also means that you wouldn't need to bother about imports, but to the extent that every person tries to be a rational economic being, If imported produce, it's cheaper, what then do you do? Is it still realistic for us to expect that we'll have self-sufficiency in rice production by 2018? What are the things that we need to begin to get right?
Well, I wouldn't know the yardstick that they used in measuring that, but I would assume that the strategies that we will need to put in place is to have a backup. For instance, if you take climatic factors, like Prof that finished speaking now talked about northwest areas to be targeted at. But there are some certain periods that we don't have enough water. So what backup has government done? There is this simple technology called the Kickstart Initiative that pumps water, even on a low, even running water, and I have the brochures here. You know, even a pregnant woman, a nursing woman can pump it. You just pedal this, and we're now promoting it. It costs just about 80,000 naira. Instead of this huge amount of money they are pumping, why don't we make hampers now for people? And you need to see the demand. And Carry Project has supported us in training these people. Why is government not taking from this model? They know it, but we are shifting away from reality.
You know, what do you know about political farmers? Are they a nuisance in all of this that we're discussing?
Well, my classification will not use words like nuisance or so on, but I know that there's a generation of farmers that emerged from nowhere. They emerged because they can tap into those things that my hard-to-reach farmers are supposed to get. So they cannot. We registered our farmers for the Anchor Borrower Scheme. And I'm telling you, not more than 1% of them were able to tap into this. And these are people that you can point at their farms. Our training and capacity building includes taking geographical information of the farmer's field so that you know the farmer's size. You know how many women are there, how many female farmers are there, and so on. So are we really doing that? So if we're really sincere, we want to keep such data. Now we are claiming to have produced a particular quantity of rice. How many farmers produce that? How many are women? How many are youths, for God's sake? Which moisture meter did we use? I've not seen any training system, apart from the one that I said the GIZ is supporting us to do, that has trained farmers using moisture meter. Because if they don't know the actual moisture content of the rice that they have harvested and packaged, for God's sake, you are selling nonsense to people, and the competitiveness would no more be there. After 3 months, it's going to become, it will carry some molds, it will be infected. But we don't consider all of those ones, and we're talking of high production. There is what we call rice advice that Carry Project has also trained us that you give to the farmer. Now they download it on their system. They know when to apply fertilizer. If rain does not fall after 3 days, they use this machine, pump it, and they put water to backstop, because you cannot determine when the rain will fall now. So since climate change is also a factor beyond our means, what technology have we put in place to address that? 80,000 naira per farmer is better than the funny-looking gigantic harvester that I saw on the screen that looks like an old thing that was just renovated.
Okay, Adia, let me also ask you, because in the past,
you will come back with a bleeding heart.
Can this price be reversed? This high?
If all these things are put in place, if you train more youths for better extension workers, not picking those that are not interested in it, pick those ones, the type that we chase after to train. Like we just graduated some SSP sprayers, commercial sprayers, with support of Carry. They train them, they give them protective clothing because it is harmful to them.
Farmers are trained. The farmers are not getting that extension delivery system. The fertilizer, the inputs are not getting there. Even if they get there, they don't even know how to apply it. The agrochemicals, the same thing, and so forth. So there has to be concerted effort to build up the public sector extension delivery system so that farmers
Dr.
will be
Wazi,
educated.
just let me pause you. Let me pause you because we have to let Hajia Salamatu Garba, she has an appointment she must keep.
Right.
Hajia, we're very glad that you could find time to come and share your perspective.
The secret not known even to her family. Find out the secret. NTA turns 40 this year. The challenges, the emerging trends in broadcasting, and the way forward. Weekend Dealer 2. Meet the team behind the biggest deal on NTA. Is food still the way to a man's heart? If not, what else? This edition is hot and juicy. Meet your star faces on screen. Entertainment, fashion, young minds, social media, and
I have listened to some of the conversation you have done about an hour ago. Most of the issues were being said. But having said that, you see, the problem of cost, I perceive is not only on rice. If you tell me rice is expensive, 2 years back, we are buying a bag of maize at 4,000, 4,500. Today it's 15,000. A bag of maize, a bag of millet, a bag of gari even. So let's let's leave all this, let's concentrate on rice, and I explain to you what are. I'm not talking of the harassment on the road, but different bodies, police, army. The last time he's telling me even Navy, local government, talks, political talks. So there is a lot of multiple problem. But I think for us to get this thing right, we have to work so much on the production side. There is 3 segments to this thing. The primary production is very, very important. I had people making example of India and the rest. Do you know this year, just and the quality we are getting is nothing to write home about. But in about 3-4 years back, things are getting better. We should have that. But what government needs to do is to invest more in the area of primary production, research, to get better seed, to get the irrigation facility, to open up more paddy fields. We have thousands of hectares by our river banks from Sokoto up to Cameroon. We need to open more paddy fields. Government need to invest.
A lot more people, you know, have not benefited from the anchor borrower scheme. And would it be the fact that if more people or if more states had get into the scheme and more farmers are benefiting, would it have reduced the price of rice, of locally produced rice, at the price at which, you know, the anchors, the millers now buy from the farmers? Because under that scheme, there is a stipulated price at which millers buy from farmers.
Yes. There are 2 things to what you have asked. Yes, of course, if genuine farmers who are ready to do the work, who will do the work sincerely, if there are many, of course, that means the production will be more and the paddy availability will be more. Definitely the price will be within reach. I'm telling you, once we are able, when we are buying paddy at 65, we are selling our rice at 8,000. Today we are buying paddy at 160. We are selling at 16,000.
Why are some farmers, why are they not benefiting from the anchor scheme if, you know, it is designed, you know, to improve productivity and capacity?
The truth of the matter is that the anchored borrower program need to be looked at again. Because whether we like it or not, we started the anchored borrower program, but at the end of the day, the state government hijacked the program, and at the process, those who are not genuine farmers have to, they are the main beneficiaries of
all right,
this
those are the political farmers that
yes,
we've been talking about. Okay,
yes.
Just before we bring in Dr. Okengu, maybe we have the benefit of listening to the comments of some of our viewers. The tweets are quite many. We'll quickly run through some of them and then return to our guests. Claire, we have this from D.L. Caleb. He says, if actually they have closed borders on foreign rice, why is it still in the market?
And this is sincerely yours. It says, quick answer. Local rice is more time-consuming and unnecessarily expensive to produce. Foreign rice is mass-produced, with technical aid.
And Akintude Kende tweets, says at the border it's 8,000 naira, but in the market it's 16,000 naira. Still expensive because local rice as it is, there's still not enough in the marketplace.
All right, and this is Comrade Tomori Abdul. He says, I think the cost of producing local rice is higher than the cost of importing foreign rice, and simply the local producers need government assistance.
Innocent Yalwa James tweets, now the hike in the price of locally produced rice is due to the absurd interest rate from the loans given to farmers. How can we then consume?
And indeed, this is a very important observation that Ishaq Abdul Hamid has made. And it says, just as the saying goes, corruption is fighting back. So also the rice importers are fighting the successful acceptance of local rice.
And then we have another one again from Ibeneme Dominic. It says, the high cost is as a result of sabotage, illegal exportation and packaging our rice as foreign rice, as some bad practices happening.
Okay, Dele Jack Solomon again. One way of changing the tides is for government and NGOs, that's non-governmental organizations, to encourage our farmers. Nigeria has fertile land to be #1 producer of rice.
All right, and then we have this other tweet coming from Sonny Michael Amakeji again. It says, in law, we are told that you cannot give what you don't have. It's simple. Supply is far below market demand. All
right, and again, Ibn Ahmed Dominic tweets, we need serious monitoring in the activities of our farmers. Prosecute and punish farmers and traders who are exploiting Nigerians.
Andoaka Veshiva tweets, it's because the cost of production is high. Government should subsidize agric fertilizers and herbicides because they are too expensive.
All right, Ishaq Abdul Hamid, the cost of rice processing virtually remained the same for a long time. It is intermediaries that intentionally constitute the problem.
Jacob Lloyd tweets, locally produced rice is costly because local farmers are not supported enough to produce rice in large quantities. Okay, right. And then another one there from tweets said, does imported rice not pass through processing, packaging, even import duty, and so on and so forth? I thought if we produce locally, this will reduce the price.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the tweets that we have in the meantime, but quickly, let's return. Dr. Okengo, look, a number of issues on the table. First one, the target of self-sufficiency in rice production by 2018. How realistic is that? What then do we need to do? There are a number of points that have been raised. Some of these issues cannot be tackled almost immediately, but what, from the financing angle, also from the level of, getting to the real farmers rather than the political farmers, how can we begin to identify them and say, look, this is what we need to do in terms of overhauling the blueprint, as it were, for attaining rice self-sufficiency in rice production?
Well, first thing is that you must create what you call volume. And we must move away from farmers to farms, and move away from farms to fields, and move away from fields to belts. That's how you create your volume. You have over 300 dams in Nigeria. They are storing their own in facilities. So until we're able to tie what we call our volume to value, but something must also now support the volume, which is the back end. This is where you have your research. This is where you have your equipment. This is where you have your reverse engineering. This is where your Ministry of Science and Technology must kick in. This is where you have your treasures. I keep telling this story about the tank. The difference between a bulldozer and a tank is a turret. 1,000 naira, running it from Kebbi to Ebonyi. Okay? Now, imagine where you now go to buy paddy for 500,000 and you're using 600,000 to transport it to Ebonyi. And then by the time the man gets, he says, Oga, we nearly lost the whole load though. We needed to give bribe to X, Y, Z, this. They were telling us to bring receipt of importation. They were saying it was stolen rice. They were saying it was this. They packed us here. They packed us there. Another 100,000 on top of it. And people are asking, and again, you're also talking about
paddy in Ebonyi. Yes, there is production of paddy in Ebonyi, but there are also huge demand by the local processors in Ebonyi. So the competition is high. So people will run away from where there is a lot of competition to go to somewhere that there is lesser competition. That is why the concentration of paddy procurement is more to Kebbi, to Taraba, to Adamawa, where there is a lot of it, and the competition by the local processors is a little bit low.
We can win the fight, but usually we have collusion from the rank and file. When you give somebody an opportunity to import 70,000 tons and he imports 150,000 tons, and nothing happens. So that's one of the problems. We must be able to police and monitor our import licenses that we give out and make sure that it is done in relation to the production capacity within the country. Usually we give excess importation licenses to people not minding our local production and demand, local production by millers. But pardon me, let me make one step back to some of the discussion about 2018, that self-sufficiency in 2018. Is it possible? It is possible if we carefully plan our scheme. I was mentioning earlier that we know where rice is strategically endowed in the country. And if we are going to build up this gap, we must go there. That is the first area we must go to. Use the irrigation facilities that we have. We have about 10 of them that are actually functioning, from Goroyo to Bakolori to Dakinkowa, Tiga, and some others that are functioning, where rice can be produced twice in a year at high level yield. And there are many other dams that are constructed, but the land was not developed to produce rice. They just produce dams. And this is where the lag exists between Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Water Resources. If I had my way, I would take the irrigation aspect of out of water resources and put in agriculture. Because we know in agriculture, people will know how to harness the water to crop production a lot better. It is possible. It is possible for us to be self-sufficient in rice.
Issue of cost for now is something that, yes, we have to take. But in the future, 2-3 years, if the supply is high, definitely the price will come down. We have to be ready for that. But we need to do two things. We need to have a stable policy and also to fight corruption.
Mohamed Abubakar, thank you very much. But just quickly to appreciate Dr. Olumoyiwa Oshiname, of course, who joined us from our Ibadan Network studio. He's a rice value chain development expert. Doctor, we'd like to thank you very much, sir, for your time with us.
Thank you.
All right, we're back here.
All right, yes, Claire, we have a number of tweets as we indicated, and we are pressed for time already, but let's take the tweets as quickly as we can. Egwando Tony Jeff says, banks are one of the greatest enemies of the Nigerian state, as they, in conjunction with politicians, divert funds to political farmers.
Indeed, these political farmers keep cropping up.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
We'll see where they harvest there.
Change to progress. The high price seems to make the farmers happier, and they're enjoying the new price regime. More people should farm. Simple.
Now, Ishaq Saleh tweet said the Anchor Borrower program is very good, but the process is not helping farmers due to the nature of the loans.
Right, and Clifford Agugese says it's a mindset thing. Is rice a compulsory staple food item?
Well, he also asks, comments rather, we must encourage farmers of other staples and remove the pressure on rice and rice farmers.
All right, and Bashir Mohammed Asada tweets, farmers still produce lower than our demand due to lack of government infrastructure, such as, he says, dams.
Shitu 10 tweets, Nigerians need to go back to the farm and produce more because the market is right here. Let our farmers be the real king again, as it is supposed to be.
And Bright Aaron tweets, Nigerians focus in theory more to practical. We can't be successful till we engage directly with local rice farmers and not the middlemen.
Kachala Mala tweets, underproduction as a result of poor tools, poor farming system, and high demand as a result of overpopulation are the reasons for the price differential between the imported and the locally produced rice.
And Sani Michael Omakoji, the people benefiting from government's loan, as cried out by Hajia, the political farmers and political loyalists. It's so sad.
DL Caleb tweets, when I said that the sudden ban on importation of foreign rice without standardizing local production is dangerous, people thought I fell from a purple tree. You have rice in the purple.
And Clifford,
are these commodities, are they overpriced? Because we had a program on wheat production, and I recall, you know, the flour mill managing director, one of the guests on our Lagos Network Center, warning. So look, you keep talking about the high price that you are paying for wheat. Don't forget the knock-on effect, you know, down the chain for those who are in the confectionery business. Is this what we are seeing here? Are farmers and their produce being overpriced?
Can I take that?
Yeah, just very quickly.
Yes.
Then the other guests
Yes,
also contribute.
yes, there is this issue. We always advocate with the ministry to put out a minimum guarantee price for farmers. But you cannot do much on it once there is demand and short supply. This is just the key. In places like India and all these, even our neighboring countries, they control the prices because the government, there is no short supply, and the government is in charge by giving the farmers adequate input and all the necessary things they require. So they detect the price and the farmers obey. But in our own case, the people bring out their money and farm, and there is demand on their product. So they have to detect the price. The only way to go that is to have more of the production so that the availability of the product will be there. Then the price will definitely come down.
Dr. Okengo, your thoughts on this very briefly.
When you go to a bank and they say you're getting a loan at 9%, and you're competing with somebody who's getting it at 1.2%, sometimes 0.5%, and the person has a lot of tax holidays, has a lot of incentives, has a lot of support, you know, why would you be asking the question you're asking? The answer is in the question. So I don't think we are ready. And until we begin to look at our financing mechanism, the Indian man who was talking to my brother was just simply telling him, you people will never have the capacity to do volume that can unlock your value.
All right. Dr. Okengo, and then Dr. Wazia, your thoughts on this very briefly as well.
Do we need to subsidize local rice as well?
Yeah, the subsidy has to be there, but the government intervention in deploying the infrastructure, making the farmers to get the inputs is very essential, and that is that. That will definitely bring down the cost of production.
Well, that's the much we can take. Dr. Mike Wazia, who is, of course, a farmer and an agri-resource consultant, would like to thank you very much for your contribution. Dr. Emeka Okongu, of course, our in-house agri-analyst, he is an agri-economist. Would like to thank you very much, sir, for your time. And Alhaji Mohammed Abubakar, Chairman, Rice Millers Association of Nigeria, many thanks to you for sharing your perspective.
Just 2.5 minutes into the second half.
Real will clinch La Liga with a draw at mid-table Malaga on Sunday.
Now to Premier League, Southampton continue their poor form as they again fail to beat Manchester United at home. Like in their previous 8 league and cup games,